Hi, I'm Jamie Lenman. We're going to be taking a look at my video for my single Killer. But before we begin, because the video is actually quite long, but there's quite a lot to explain at the start, I just wanted to mention the way we did things, because on Devolver, my previous record, what I did was that I had a promotional budget. My label gave me a promotional budget for photos, videos, that kind of thing. And I sort of divvied it up between several people. I made lots of videos with lots of different directors, and they were all great. I did a couple with a guy called Scott Chalmers, who I knew because he'd done a lot of work with my wife. And by the time that Shuffle came around, he was basically, a part of the family. He was always at my shows, my wife's shows, always hanging out, good guy. And so I thought what would be easier than taking their promotional budget for Shuffle and divvying it up between several different people was if we just gave it all to Scott, and he just did all the photography and the images for the record, which would make things, not only give them a very uniform look, which I was keen on, but also would be a lot easier. And Scott's got the work guaranteed, we know where we are, so that's what we did. But what that meant was that I'd spent all my budget on just Scott. I didn't have any provisions for things like sets or props or anything. So what we had to do was get very inventive, and I discussed this with Scott at length, and we agreed that we'd probably be able to make it work. We had to do everything for the shots and the videos and everything within Scott's studio, which isn't a massive space, but it's got a lot of stuff in there. So we had to get very inventive. And so that's what you got to consider when you watch this video, which I actually think is probably the best video we've done. That's maybe my favorite video I've ever made. And that's all down to Scott. I give him full credit because he's a genius. And we made this in his tiny studio. It looks like $1 million to me, but let's have a look. Let's start the video. Here we go for Killer. All right, straight away, warning, contains flashing images. The symbol you see here is the Killer logo that I sort of designed, and I did some After Effects stuff and combined it with some TV distortion and did this little animation of it coming closer to the camera as the song begins. And then straight away we're in this amazing effect. I wanted like a wall of TVs, and I said, Scott, can we have a wall of TVs? And he said, not really. How about some red fairy lights? And I was like, what? It's gonna look terrible. And he said, no, trust me. And we hung them up. And look at them, they look great. And he's used all these different blurring effects and depths of field to make it really look great. He's a real master of lighting. I love that blurred shot there. I'd painted myself, I'd gone to a Halloween show as a skeleton man, and I thought in the back of my mind, hey, that's pretty cool. I might do that again. So I remember that I painted myself like a skeleton for this video. It's got nothing to do with Killer. There's not even a skull in the logo, but I thought it looked good. And you know what? It does. So that's what we did. I got some of this free footage from a stock website of just some basic fights going on. And here you see the Glimmer Man. I covered myself in glitter. It was supposed to look silver. It looks gold. That's fine. Because, it's important to have a sort of an act too. You've seen the Skeleton Man, and now you get to see the Glittery Man. I'm going to talk in a minute about these two. My wife and a guy called Daniel Bateman playing Solitary Brother and Solitary Sister. I suddenly thought, wouldn't it be great? It was like the week before I thought, oh man, we need a solitary brother and a solitary sister. And I wanted two people to be sort of alone but together. And you could see in the shot where they're embracing, they're not actually touching each other. And that's so that they remain solitary. And my wife obviously is no stranger to getting their kit off. But Daniel, we hadn't met before. He was a friend of Scotty's. And we called up and said, do you want to be in a video? And he said, great. And then we said, right, you have to get naked. And to his credit, he did it. He was so excellent, and a great new friend to make in the making of this video. And he just looks wonderful. Look at him; they both look great. I'm so pleased with how this all came out, and I love these shots of the Glimmer Man where you can't see my eyes; you can only see my teeth and my moustache. That's my favorite angle of me. A little bit of disco dancing. Here we go. And now for the third act, it's important to have a third image to bring into things, so things that get boring. Paint myself entirely red. The background lights went white. In between all of these shots, between the Skeleton Man and the Glimmer Man and the Red Man, I had to go to Scott's house, which is a 20-minute drive, and shower and scrape myself. His family were terrified. And Scott had this projector, and we projected the logos from the video and the album onto me. This is the whole concept of the album in one video, and I just think it looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm so pleased with how it came out. Wow, and now it's over. I've been talking all the way through. Big thanks to Scotty and my wife and Daniel Bateman there. Buy Shuffle. It's still out now. Don't go to Road to Lenman, that was ages ago.